Good evening. I'm Darrell Seafold, Chairman of the Planning Commission for East Lampeter Township. Also present this evening is Jerry Fuskin, Randy Patterson, Jason Dagan, and as well as Planning Commission members. And I believe later Sarah Ryder may join us on the Zoom. She had another commitment, but might be with us later. And Colin Seasols. Monopoly. Thanks, Monopoly.
What it was like.
It's
a good amount of.
Give me a look like his name. So, the meeting is being recorded, no microphones for those that are first. Room has it, picks it up very well. So whenever you say it, we'll hear. So welcome again, and first order is pledge allegiance, if you'll stand in front of me. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Order of business is approval of the minutes of the July 11th Planning Commission meeting. Having read those, are there any changes or adjustments to those minutes as presented to it?
Second.
So hearing none, we had a motion from Randy and a second from Jerry. All those in, well, we have to do the roll call. Jerry, are you in favor? Aye. Randy's in favor. Aye. Jason? Aye. And aye for myself. So unanimous. And I don't believe Sarah's on yet. You join us now. The next item is old business, which is none. This evening. Item is Plan 2023-9 Garden Path Soap, 2533 Old Philadelphia Pike. So,
I'm Brian Maskerson, Jester Associates. I have larger plans if you guys want to see a larger.
thank you.
This property is the old stove shop at the corner of Mill Creek Road and Old Philadelphia Pike. What Sylvie owns it now. She owns Garden Path Soap. She has a facility now in Bird in Hand, back off of 340. She purchased this property since she lives 2 or 3 doors down. Be convenient for her, and it'll get her a whole new setup the way that she would like it to be. We submitted a land development plan, got a review letter back from Scott, and addressed the majority of those comments. And then there was another second review letter came out. I think it was July 7th. We can address all those comments on the July 7th letter, except for the comments that the deferral of the sidewalks. We submitted a deferral. And I sent an email out to Scott asking him, one of the comments says they're okay with the deferral, but we have to show how we're gonna grade a sidewalk in there. There's not enough room. I mean, there's just not. If we started doing a sidewalk along Mill Creek with an 8-inch curb, 5-foot wide sidewalk, and I think it's a 3-foot wide beauty strip, we'd be into these problems. And the elevation change is greater than this table to the floor. We don't have a problem with the email response, because I sent a back and forth with Scott. He said, try to put LiDAR on it. Well, we put LiDAR topography on it, and I went out there. LiDAR topography, you can't do it with that. It would require us to do field topography, 1-foot contours, and then even then, it's just not going to work. Scott's email back to me gave us 2 options for the developer to enter into an agreement that states separate stormwater plan would be required for sidewalk installation once it is called to be put in. That's the option that we'd like to take. And at that point, we'd have to figure out how to regrade that site to accommodate that. It would require walls and redoing the parking lot and everything. It is what it is. It's one of those sites. It is what it is. We're trying to clean it up and make it a viable spot for garden path soap. So that one there is the only thing that I need clarification on. And I think I got it with this new thing that we just have to enter the agreement and not do a grading plan. The other things on there, we have to touch base with the sewer provider, fire, police. I think that's basically it. We're pretty good as far as this plan goes. It's just that we got hung up on that sidewalk burden issue.
If you go back a step, I'm not sure who's present this evening, but what are you doing in the site other than a new owner coming in?
Rebuilding.
I've been by the site over the weekend and pretty much everything's gone except the walls.
Yeah.
The previous building, so roofs and interior pretty much it's gutted and
Yeah.
some walls left.
That
So are you expanding,
no.
adding any paving? What's
There'll be-
improvements are happening on the site?
There's no increase in impervious coverage. The footprint for the building is going to be the same. That building had multiple additions over time. And if you went in there, it was a step down, a step down, a step down. She wants it to be one. So that she put her soap on her carts and wheel it through. It had a flat roof, which was a mess. They're going to put attic trusses and make a nice roof on there. You've got some dormers on that roof too. So yeah, the same footprint's being used, the same parking areas being used, the same entrances are being used. The retail is going to be out front, the manufacturing is going to be towards the back, almost the same way it was set up before.
Yeah, you had all your requests were deferrals. So one was for preliminary to final plan. Here's that we hear with that as far as our township engineer. Here's that with the condition that there shows that. Have you shown it on the revised plans or?
Yeah, not sure because you can't, it doesn't fit. We showed curb and sidewalk with the beauty strip. It does not fit on that site.
Right, so they would enter into an agreement with the township, then do a separate stormwater plan at a later date if that's ever called in. So they would not need to show it on this plan. That would all be handled by a stormwater plan at a later date if it's ever called in.
But you had just talked about sidewalks, but there was also, I heard you say you were all right with the others. There's separate comments and deferrals as far as the street widening, curb, sidewalks.
No.
You just mentioned sidewalks. So.
Yeah, the deferral covers the vertical curve, the sidewalk, the beauty strip, Any widening, additional right of way, that is all covered in that deferral. The comments that we need to address are, we need to get the fire company to write a letter that says that they can still service the site. We need to get a letter from the police department that says they can still service the site. We need to get a letter from the sewer authority that says the existing flows match what we're proposing.
So on all four of these deferral requests that are David Miller's letter, the issue of providing grading applies to all four, and you're saying a deferral, if the deferral is called, they would need to provide a stormwater management associated with the improvement. All four.
Yeah. It looks like we're asking for a lot of deferrals, but it's that the curb and sidewalk shows up in multiple sections in the ordinance. Yeah.
So the one that was simple was preliminary skipped go to final, so that's would be awaited in that referral. Then the next, we want to regard the street curb sidewalk on the perimeter. Fourth, sidewalk parking compound. So are you doing sidewalks in the parking compound or?
No,
And I don't know that the deferral is, you didn't put sidewalks there because.
there's no room. If we start putting sidewalks on our interior part of the site, we need a lot of parking.
If we do a blanket deferral, all four, with the requirement to follow the stormwater management plan for all four. Correct. Township's prerogative to call for sidewalks within the parking compound.
Correct. And when it gets called in, then we'd have to have another meeting and say, listen,
Right.
we'd have to close up shop, basically.
Well, that would entail an agreement, which I think you understand. And then I'd be moved potentially through that agreement.
That's an option if they choose, but I think Brian's asking just for the
The agreement.
agreement and plan at a later date.
Okay, goes. Depending on that, you may have some work before you go to the supervisor. Sure. Have that all in place with a clarity on that. And then we have 3 items under zoning. Which will, that was the officer.
The one, there's a small retaining wall here. We have to give some spot shots. It's under the allowable, but they want to see some spot shots on that. And then this area here is stone, that's gonna get paved, so they want a paving detail. And then the third one is something I have to work out with the architect. It has to do with percentage of square footages for retail versus manufacturing.
Three under subject. For the sanitary sewer, financial security, then you mentioned the other as far as the emergency.
Yeah, those are.
You have the county's review letter from May 31st. On the county.
Yeah, she remember for me. Are there any comments on? One we can do. Who would get covered with that agreement? Into the stop sign. You're not gonna have a dumpster, are you, Sylvie? No. Lighting. She's gonna have 2 lights by the front door. ADA compliant. Parking space, we've got that. they want a detail for the retaining wall, we can get that. Yeah. So yeah, there's nothing on there that we can't really.
It's probably more similar to the, I mean, we show a letter. When they applied to some of those. So not having a dumpster, you will have some trash receptacles. And generally, there should be some type of screening with them. So they're not be setting out in the open area.
If it goes to require, there's no problem with those.
Yeah, just do like a little hoop, wheelie bin there and put some screening around it or something. Would be inside,
If it's inside, then it's not an, okay.
yeah. Sometimes it's better if it's inside, because if you put it outside, it's just.
Like the pedestrian easement comment would get covered in the deferral.
Yeah, that would be in that deferral, because if we put an easement on there, it's not gonna get used until they want to take it anyways, and then we'll have to do it.
Any questions from the audience? And this is to this project.
I would site and see the difficulty with sidewalk and curb. Yeah. One of the things.
They understand that, yeah.
Deferral agreement would just stipulate that if at some point in time the township decides to install curb and sidewalk, not just on your property, but in that neighborhood to continue the curb and sidewalk, they could call you to also provide for it.
The township's aware of the difficulty there. You have two entrances on the site now, and to Mill Creek Road and one on Old Philly Pike. And the first comment in the county's letter, I don't know if you've seen that, is to make that just a one-way exit. Mark that as an exit only, because it isn't that wide.
One way in from Old Philadelphia Pike. That's how the parking lot's set up. We want them nose,
Okay.
yeah, we've got an arrow there one way. We want them nosing in. Yeah, because they're angled different. I mean, and then you would go out here.
But so the one-way do not enter sign.
One way in with a do not enter. One way. I guess we'd show one way here when do not enter here. Plus signs all over the place directing people. Yeah, we made that one. That one needed to be tweaked a little bit. So we did that.
Question at the table. Hearing none, we'll look for a motion.
Who will make a motion that when be approved by the township supervisors in accordance with David Miller Associates letter dated July 7th, 2023. The following change to that, I suppose is the language of the ratings. This is read parking compound. The owner will provide a referral agreement with the township approved by the solicitor. That would require, if the township called for that after the deferral, that a stormwater management plan would be presented to the township. And that when the planning commission letter of May 31st, 2023 items number 1, 2, 3, 6, and 7. Which eliminates the plans for the outdoor trash and the lighting.
Second.
By Jerry. Any discussion? Vote, Jerry. Andy. Vincent. Sarah.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Prepare the plan.
We're pretty easy either way.
Here probably since next item on the agenda is 2023-10 Aspen Home Improvements, 2020- 220-222 Pittsy Road, final lot add-on and land development plan. If you could identify yourself and
From CGA Architect, Neola. And Daniel Adamson, who's here. He's a member of the LLC that owns the property, Westville Associates, and also worked for that and then improved. And we have been working on development plan for the former Conestoga Copier project property. It's currently two different lots, 3 parcels. Pitney Road and Oak Grove Drive intersection. I'm sure you're very familiar with it. There's 3 buildings on the property today. The plan is to demolish the building on the corner and to demolish the building that fronts on Oak Grove Drive, and actually demolish the building down to the foundation, the other building as well, and rebuild that building as a 2-story structure with an addition on it, and all the lots would get combined into one. It's actually in the residential zone, but we received zoning approval to continue a non-conforming use close to a year ago now. So what we're doing is obviously rebuilding that structure, like I said, and there will be a 2,300 square foot addition. That's a warehouse addition. The business is a contractor's office, essentially. It's not set up for retail sales. They have, I think they testified that there's be on the site, and we have parking which exceeds the ordinance requirement, but provides enough parking for their employees. Basically what they have is subcontractors or employees come in and install their they throw some stuff in the dumpster. Deliveries all come in box truck type vehicles. All that was presented at the zoning meeting. And then the rest is just office for salespeople. There's a lot of those people going in and out, but they are all in, their vehicles are vans essentially, right? And limitations to deliveries coming in and out on Oak Grove Drive at the zoning meeting. New stormwater plan to put some underground. We did an infiltration test, put underground stormwater over here, clean up the curb, clean up the sidewalk, actually talk about the sidewalk. So the township has a proposal for a multi-use path, which is 12-foot wide macadam to get people to the park. So we were asked to either provide that or provide financial security for that in the future. They're willing to just put it in today. So that's on there, and there's a waiver to put that in instead of concrete sidewalks, the way it shows on the or in the planning ordinance. New curbing around the site, new screening along the neighbor's property as he requested at the zoning meeting. Landscape screening, lighting all facing away from the residential properties. We have a very clean letter from Scott at David Miller, of course. So there's really no planning issues related to Scott's review. There are several waivers that we had asked for and one deferral. I think, if you want me to go through the waivers or have you read them? Through them. if you prefer.
Yeah, we can quickly go through.
Okay. First is preliminary plan process. Second is plan scale. We feel that the plan is the 1 to 20 scale is better, shows everything. There's 2 stormwater ordinances, one for the loading ratios, and there was a justification letter sent by Harbor Engineering, who's our stormwater engineer. Conveyance pipe size, number 4. There's a couple 6, 8, and 12-inch diameter pipes instead of 15. Number 5 was not technically a waiver any longer. A deferral agreement to widen Oak Grove Drive. We had requested, and we actually sent a draft of the deferral agreement to Scott to keep it where it is, and that allows the multi-use path to be where it is. And we don't want to, it's a residential street. We're trying to not encourage trucks going down there. At a prior potential buyer zoning exhibit, which we were part of, we heard from neighbors that tractor trailers they think this is the access to Route 30. So we don't want that to be wide. The neighbors don't want that to be wide. So there's a deferral agreement for that, which we're fine with. And also we are showing on the plan to give the township the right of way that they're asking for along Pitney Road. So number 5, we're not actually requesting a waiver. We're just looking for a deferral. The Oak Grove Road widening.
With that, you're keeping the same footprint for the building.
Correct.
Faces Pitney and also on Oak Grove.
Correct.
With the widening of the right of way, what do you do to your building setback?
The front yard setback is, through the building,
Yeah.
whether the right of way is there or not. So that was discussed at the zoning
Is
meeting.
that with the existing right of way? So if you went with the wider right of way, I think it'd take a wider one to 60 feet.
It's 60, we would just be giving the 5 foot on our side. It was a 50-foot right of way. They're asking for an extra 5 feet on our side.
I'm just
Would put,
wondering if the deferrals even any purpose in that, because
It's not conforming, so it's already.
already over the
Already
setback
over the
either way.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're actually, I think what the township wanted was the extra 5 foot of right of way on our side. It's a PennDOT road. PennDOT has their right of way. We put the curb in the PennDOT right of way. The township, we had tried we had asked for a waiver initially, but the township was pretty adamant that they wanted that extra 5 foot right of way. So there's no reason for us not to grant that. The Oak Grove Road right of way doesn't change. The right of way for Oak Grove Road is already way back onto what appears to be the property. So that right of way is not changing. And we're putting the curb essentially back at the edge of the existing road. So that changes, that doesn't change the width of that road.
does the ultimate right of way, where does that fall when you're putting the path out? Is it right on the edge of it?
It's pretty close to right on the edge of it, yes. Yes. So, and then we have a pedestrian on the property for the path. Number 6 is a arc minimum radius for 20 feet for local streets. The applicant is requesting a modification, is proposing 25-foot radius. And Scott's recommending approval of that waiver. And then the 7 and both related to the multi-use path that we're putting in instead of a typical concrete sidewalk.
You just tell me why.
Why? That's, I think, the design of the path for bikes.
This is for the.
Yeah, we're just following what they wanted to put in throughout there. So there's one, we're showing the multi-use path, right? This is PennDOT right away against the highway here. And PennDOT is probably not going to allow this multi-use path in there right away. So we are gonna have to just take that, we'll stop it at the property line and.
Yeah, this is part of the regional heritage map, which is a wider, et cetera, so.
So I think Scott's letter's fairly clean, waiting on final PennDOT approval. Just received some from them. We have to talk to them. For the path, there's three things, the path and stormwater connection and that. So we have trying to set up a meeting with them, but from the township standpoint, everything's clean. The county review letter we received May 31st. He actually responded to that and then were like, it's not normal to do that. But I thought it was nice to show them how we were handling. So all of their comments on there we've addressed as well on the plan. So they have a resubmittal of that. So there's not really anything. Clear site triangle, safe site stopping. Just a lot of these were duplicates of Scott's. So we addressed all of those comments from the county and sent that back in.
The obvious question there, do you address them, but in favor of their recommendation or there
Everything they asked for, we showed lighting plan, parking sign details, dumpster screen, landscaping plan.
This is getting clear.
Yeah, no, we didn't, there's nothing that we disputed and said and yeah, we provided everything they asked.
So we understood each other.
Change to David Miller's letter.
We're not adding everything. The last resubmittal, it's not on the plans that way. It's just a deferral of the by widening. So that's the only deferral that we need, and then the rest are the waivers that I'm through. Interested renderings of the building. From looking at the intersection there, they had requested a stone wall on that corner because someone recently ran into that corner. So they're putting a stone wall there that was shown to the zoning board. It's not a 2-story, it's kind of got some ups and downs and ins and outs. So I think it feels so overpowering. That's kind of the view from the Route 30 side. I think everybody forgot that, closing off that whole wide open Chatham. Yeah. Perfect. Building.
Well, the fact that stone walls as much to protect your building as it is.
Yeah. Kind of answered. I've had a question on Oak Grove Drive.
Yes.
There's a sign there that says no outlet, but actually that does go into the
Right turnout only.
On actually on the
No
drive.
delivery trucks and
I
stuff.
didn't realize that you said trucks come and think that's an access
Yeah.
for,
Yeah, a lot of them come from either Costco or.
but actually there is an outlet because you can go back in that residential area and I forget the street names and cut across and come out
Oh, I didn't know that.
around. Yeah, there is an outlet.
So we're gonna drive back that driveway, listening to the neighbors.
But I can see if they say no outlet, that would
Yeah.
help. I guess my thought is it probably should be a bigger sign to keep the trucks out. Yeah, which is maybe a deterrent for them to not come through that neighborhood. Yeah, by mistake. Well, any questions? Planning Commission. Sarah, shaking your head. Sarah shaking her head no.
No, I don't have any questions.
For definitely, it's all for a motion.
I'll make a motion that the plan number as improvements to the road be presented to the township supervisors for approval based on the with one section that related to the waiver request for the road is long from the owner and be removed if there is no other letter. And the owner has received the prior conditions letter dated May 34th.
By Randy, do I have a second? Yes. It's a second. Favor, Jerry? Aye. So acknowledge or Randy? Aye. Make a motion. Jason? Sarah?
Aye.
I so unanimous. Motion, thank you. Good luck.
That's your current design table.
Started as soon as we get the plan. We actually submitted for building permit today.
Right.
We have a review from the code reviewer today. We'll address it. We'll be ready to go as soon as we get this one approved.
Good luck, guys.
We go about the time we're just on and
Yeah.
from Parkway's open, yeah. All right. Next item on the agenda are briefing items. Oh.
Yeah, Smoketown Airport, is over here, they're coming in for expansion, revisions of the prior plan they had. They're not proposing as many hangars anymore, they're gonna just expand some cases. You'll see that. The second briefing, Rockville parcel, the China doesn't do that. That's going to be Panera. Panera restaurant, so. That'll be coming to you. Don't know for sure.
One just.
Wouldn't have one that close, would they?
I doubt it.
I'm sure they're gonna swap, I'm not positive, but.
Just down a Target out.
Mhm.
on the corner.
Yeah. Then the last, that's them, like East Town Center, 2090 Lincoln Highway East. They're located in the C3 zone. Use one of the vacant spaces right now for self-storage. So, that would be coming to you. Staff already works, that's on something that we're both agreeable on. So, yeah.
Is that this that we're looking at or
That is
something?
correct. That's after much work between the town and.
They were in a couple, 3-4 months ago.
Yeah, we had that conversation. Okay.
In the
So
board.
let's actually move forward somewhat.
Yes. Okay. That's good.
Is G.
Well, the zone, possible, I think the one where it has to link up to. Or something, yeah, I think that, I mean, technically the zone's not changing, but just the use is permitted, so.
Yeah, okay.
Was it 100,000 square foot at that point, or did we?
I think the existing building, which cumulative is around 90,000 square feet, so yeah.
Did you?
Yes.
For action. I'd just like to read through them. And can you explain, remind me how the zoning works in commercial? So that, you gave us this chart before, the C1, C2, C3. C3 is not always permitted for 2. Vice versa, almost everything in C1 and C2.
So trying to get increases in degree of use.
Size.
Not from C through down.
This is, I think in our packs, we had a card on the Historic Preservation Trust of Lancaster having an annual meeting in September. I don't know if any have an interest. There's quite often, sometimes in the past, the townships covered that. I don't know if that's the case here or not. If a planning commission member attended, but if anybody has an interest, let Colin know.
Yeah, let me know if I can find that out.
Check and see it. The township. I think they like to have representation there, but it depends who and how many. And this. We'll look for a motion to adjourn. There's a motion by Jerry. Do I have a second? Yes. Jason, all those in favor? Polling, it was unanimous, all 5. In favor of adjourning. Thank you. Good evening.